It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Folks, you've heard the word bullying or someone's being bullied. It's a big thing today, folks, very huge in the country. Many young people, for that matter, maybe some older people, commit suicide because they were bullied or someone's bullying them. Well, how does this start? What are some of the things you should do? Now that we're back in school, there could be some lessons learned here today from a person who was bullied. Yes, she was bullied. October the 2nd, 2012, the headlines in our media partners, Standard Speaker, an article written by Ken Jackson. The title was, "I Don't Want Another Kid to Die." City woman who was bullied growing up shares story of struggle and hope. Now, you all know this person. She's been on. She talks about lupus. Cynthia Dolon is my guest today. And so Cindy comes in a different capacity as a person who was actually there. To tell you a little bit about Cindy, she has a Bachelor of Science degree and a Master's degree, and she's now studying to become a doctor. And she's a wonderful person, as you all know. Cindy, first of all, thanks for coming on the show.
Absolutely, Sammy.
I was really surprised. I mean, I know you've been on the show a number of times, and I was surprised when I was told that you were bullied. Now, this article, "I Don't Want Another Kid to Die," first of all, tell me about what happened. What happened to you, and what were some of the things you went through?
Well, as soon as I started school in kindergarten, it all started. I have a learning disability. I also have dyslexia and an ADHD. And at the time, they really didn't have me diagnosed, and I had a hard time buttoning my shirt or my coat. I had a hard time pouring drinks. I would miss the drink. And the teacher would say, "You're stupid. You can't do that." Or "You're possessed by the devil. You just don't want to do that. You're an evil child. There's something wrong with you. We just know there's something wrong with you." And when I got to first grade, I couldn't write my B's and D's right. I would reverse them. And my 6s and 9s would be upside down or right side up. And they would make me skip lunch and start hitting me. "You could do this. You could do this. You could take care of this. You can do this. This is something you're doing because you don't want it. You're evil. You're possessed by the devil. There's something wrong. Your mother has to pray for you. There's definitely something wrong with you. You're an evil child," because I could not write the letters right or correctly. And it just went from there, and it just kept spiraling down and spiraling down and spiraling down. And as things got more complicated, teachers got more frustrated, I got more frustrated, because the crazy part is I could read a book with no problem. I could quote in medical terminology, even in 4th grade. I was able to read the newspaper in 2nd grade. It was with math and with balance and coordination and those kind of issues that I had problems with.
So let me go back. So this happened in each grade?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So how did your parents react to this?
Well, my parents thought it would be better if we just ignored it. They really did. My mother would try to pursue every so often, but normally they would just ignore it.
What year was this?
In the 70s, it's like the early 70s, middle 70s is when it really started.
We're not going back to ancient history here.
No, we're not going. We're going back to not too far from this time period. And it crescendoed at one point in 4th grade when I was actually had my head bashed off a blackboard, locked into a walk-in closet.
Who hit you?
A nun.
Okay.
And also had kids who were picking on me, because she would actually encourage the kids to pick on me. Kids that liked me, she'd tell them that there was something wrong with them, so she kind of discouraged me from having friends. And the teacher, the elementary school teacher that I had at the time, who witnessed all this, she at one point told me that I gave my mother myasthenia gravis. The reason why my mother was sick is because I was born, and if I wasn't around, my mother wouldn't be ill. Well, my mother snapped on that one. She went down to school and told off on that one. But I was told that I was the reason my mother had been ill because I was born, because I was such a bad kid.
So when you went home and told your mom and dad what was going on, they told you to ignore it?
They basically just brushed it off, or they actually, at one point, because they said, "You had to do something wrong." Why would a teacher say that? You had to do something wrong. You had to do something wrong.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't understand what was going on. And it got to a point where I was actually molested by a janitor at the school. And
you were molested?
I was molested by the school janitor.
And how old were you?
I was 10 years old. And what happened was they didn't believe my story. They told me I created the whole thing until 2 months later, when some other people's kids who were more well-to-do than ours, than me, went and reported, and then they fired him because they realized, because one of the women had called my mother on the phone and said, "Did your daughter have anything happen to her?" And my mom said, "Yes." She said, "Well, we had the same thing happen to our daughter," and eventually they fired the man. But yes. And I was told that I was evil. I was told I was possessed by the devil. I was told that I was no good. I was worthless. I had kids kick me. I had dog poop stuck in my hair, squeezed, pushed in my hair. I had tacks placed on my chair.
At the age, it's fourth grade, you're saying?
Fourth, all the way up to 8th grade, yeah.
Up to eighth grade.
And then when I got to 9th grade at Hayfie, same thing went on with the gym teacher there. The man had the kids carry me out in my bra and underwear in front of the entire class and had them yelling retard to me. He would run around the cafeteria after me forks, and you know who helped me was Mrs. Darkangelo. She used to hide me in the kitchen cafeteria from the kids and the teacher.
You're kidding me.
I'm dead serious. Mrs. Darkangelo saved my life a few times. She was there for me and some of the cafeteria workers, yes.
So Cindy, 9th grade? Mm-hmm. So were your mom and dad still living?
Yes.
And this happened every year, every
year? I mean, I don't think until I got to high school that it slowed down. And actually in high school I went through a lot. There's a boy, God rest his soul, he died. Ironically, a couple months after he started doing this to me, he actually died. And I think, God forbid for saying, I think the Lord took him to spare me. But he used to try to push me down the steps when nobody was looking. This one kid in the school, he used to actually try to shove me down the steps and he said, the world would be better off without you. I'm going to push you down the steps. And I would have to hold on to the railing of the steps. They would just have to hold on.
So the mental strain, okay, that you went through, okay, I mean, and there was no, where were you getting relief? I mean, if you're...
Well, I'll tell you, there were some teachers that were counter to the ones that were bad to me. I mean, there's people that I could tell you that were in my life at that time that really saved me. And I'm going to share one of their names, Sister Madeline from elementary school. She knew that I was going through a lot at the time. She said, there's something wrong with this girl. She made me get evaluated. She already started to hold the role wrong. She said, there's a new condition now we're learning about called dyslexia. She said, I think your daughter has it. And she used to have them work with me and at lunchtime with my skills. She had me come to her office and help me file papers with her. And you know, the popular people used to get the bell ringing and all the big jobs at the school. No, she gave me them because she knew that my self-esteem was in a garbage can and she thought I'd be more popular if I was allowed to have those jobs. And it worked. And for one whole year, I actually felt better about myself. And Sister Elizabeth used to read my poetry to the class and hang my poetry up on the wall. She said I had a God-given gift for poetry, and she used to hang my poems up on the wall. So that also helped too. And also, you know, the fact that I had God in my life, believe me, I always loved the Blessed Mother. And I used to sit when they had me in the closet or I was being hit.
They had you in a closet?
They locked me in the closet at one point, yeah. I was put in the closet one day.
Just because you were different?
Yes. I have to admit that I could have been calmer, and there's a lot of issues that I have to work on myself, but I was a child.
Cindy, right now, what do you have? What is your illness? I mean, what are you being treated for?
Well, I have lupus, myasthenia gravis, Crohn's disease, diabetes, asthma, idiopathic thrombocytopenia, fibromyalgia, and I took a heart attack last year.
So, do you think that growing up, because my wife always tells me just the stress alone could cause a lot of things.
Oh yeah, there's studies that stress does exacerbate autoimmune conditions, absolutely. That could have woken my body up, absolutely.
Do you think maybe because of all that abuse that you went through and bullying that you went through could be a result of what's going on?
I don't think it helped anything, but I think God also had a plan for me, and I firmly believe that I had to become ill so I could understand what it's like to be a patient before I could become a doctor. I firmly believe that God gave me all those illnesses as well because I'm not going to have any children, and when I die, the genetics goes with me. Okay, I firmly believe that's part of it too, but I do feel that the stress did not help my health. No, I absolutely agree with you on that.
I would, believe me, I certainly would agree with that. What about, did you have friends in elementary?
Oh, I had some friends, yes, I did. But they were few and far between. And the ones that were friends with me, they were bullied by other kids for being friends with me, so it was kind of difficult to be my friend at that time period.
So how about in high school?
It was a little bit better in high school, but it got bad in college again. Mm-hmm. In high school, when I went down to Hayfie, actually things weren't too bad down there, I have to be honest with you, except for that one kid that kept trying to push me down the steps. But actually, when I got to high school, I had a lot of good teachers. Miss Costco, there was a lot of good people. And poor Mr. Calvel, God rest his soul, he was wonderful to me. Mrs. Maylock, and you know, there was a lot of people that believed in me. And actually, it was Miss Costco and Mrs. Maylock that told me to go to college. They felt that I was intelligent enough to go to. They said, Cynthia, I don't know why people don't see what we see. You're a remarkable human being, and you could do this. Why don't you just go to school? I said, well, I don't know if I could do this. He said, listen, don't listen to the other teachers. We know you're intelligent. You just have some issues, but we'll work with you. And honest to God, they gave me the strength to go. And I thought to myself, you know what? The last thing I want to do is prove these people that they're right about me. So I'm going to go to college. And I managed to get through the 4 years of hell that I had there at Misericordia. It was just as bad as it was anywhere else. But I managed to get through, and believe it.
All right, so let me go back just a little bit here, because when family support in high school, okay, was it, and even though you were going through this year after year, did they keep saying to you that, you know, what was the family support? Because you needed somebody to support.
Well, my Aunt Connie, who I live with, and my Uncle Francis, they were very much, and my mother, as much as...
Two beautiful gems.
Oh, they believed in me. My uncle used to take me for rides and say, you know, Cynthia, I know you're an intelligent girl. And we'd talk about political issues and medical issues, because I used to read a lot, and we'd be able to discuss things. And my mother was, when she was not ill, she was a supportive woman when she was not ill. She had her moments, because my mother had some mental health problems from her illnesses. She was on medication and made her not be 100% at times. But when she was herself, she was very much a believer in me. And so was my uncle and my aunt. They were very supportive of me. And my aunt took me unconditionally, and my uncle, who I loved more than life itself, was there for me and believe me. And also, as I said, it was always my faith in God, my church, my prayers, and the Lord that really, I have to say, put me through most of this was my relationship with our Lord, because he's unconditional. He loves us all unconditionally. And from the back of my head, I always knew somehow that things were going to work out. I just knew that I just had to power through it. And as I've gotten older, I realized that a lot of the kids that they picked on me have come up to me and have apologized to me today, and I've made peace with them. I realized they had a lot of their own stuff going on at the time, family problems, and, financial trouble, or their learning problems of their own, that they were kind of like taking their grief out on me. And we talked about it in dialogue with a lot of these people, and I realized that they were in so much pain themselves, and they just didn't know how to deal with it. So at the time, they kind of used me as a battering ram.
Two things. Did you ever think of committing suicide?
Yes. Absolutely, yes.
When was the first time you thought of committing suicide?
I was in 8th grade.
8th grade.
And I used to fantasize about it all the time. I used to sit in the classroom and think about, could I jump off that roof over there? The world doesn't need me anymore, and I wrote notes, I wrote poems, and I just got obsessed with suicide. I just got obsessed with it. And and then what stopped me was I realized God wouldn't want me to do that, and I'm giving in to what they told me to do. They want me to die, so I want to live just to spite them. That's what made me battle it. I realized that I was giving them what they wanted, and I was going to give that to them. And I knew that God wouldn't want me to do that. But I did go through moments in my life, yes. And yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to sit here and bullshit you. I'm telling the truth,
Second thing, did you ever think of using drugs?
Yes. I'll tell you what happened. I had one afternoon in college. I was on my bed and I wanted to fit in, and I said, God, I got to do something to fit in. I could become promiscuous, I could start taking drugs, or I could start drinking. And I said to myself, promiscuous, I'll have a baby for the rest of my life. Can't handle that. Drugs are illegal, so let me start drinking. And I did drink for a while, because I felt my father was an alcoholic and he managed to be successful in his life. Maybe I could handle this too. But guess what? It didn't work out for me the way it worked out for him. And I made an idiot out of myself every time I drank. And I almost got myself into a world of danger, and I just quit on my own. 1988, February 14th, I had enough of it, because my uncle had committed suicide before that time period, and I realized that I could be like him, and I didn't want to go there. And I said to myself, I'm worth too much, and God is worth too much, and my family's worth too much, and I want to be an example for the next generation. So I just quit drinking, and I haven't touched a drop since. But I did have my moment.
Is that when you think in your life you hit the bottom?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I went up from there. I realized I had to go back to school, and I started thinking about, at the time, I was going to get my master's in special ed, because I didn't think I was capable of becoming a doctor. At that time, I didn't think that was even a possibility, and I wanted to work with something in the medical field, but, what I could handle. And I thought, well, teaching. I already had a degree, in social and liberal arts, in Misericordia, and I was working at the charity home at the time with kids, after school program, and I seemed to connect with them. And I understood them, because they were different like I was, and we never the bond with each other. And I thought, this is for me, special education. So I went for my master's degree, and things started to change for me. But then I realized that as I was doing the work, and I was working with adults for the most part, I couldn't do enough for them, because I saw kids being diagnosed that weren't being diagnosed correctly. There was a guy in my class, they told me he had a 55 IQ. The kid was deaf. And they were giving him tests where he had to use his speech, okay? So of course he's going to skull earlier. But then when I reevaluated the kid, I realized that his IQ was 99, but we did a nonverbal test on him. And I thought to myself, I could make a difference by finding out what's wrong with the child and being able to treat, not just sitting in a classroom and teaching them, but actually diagnosing these kids or adults that are having problems. Because a lot of times mental health issues are related to physical disorders. And if I could run blood work on somebody and find out what's wrong with them, I could help them. So that's when I decided to go back to school to become a doctor. But I've been wanting to be a doctor my whole life.
When you were in college, before we go to break, when you were in college, you went for your master's degree. It says you're a master's degree in
special ed, yeah.
Master's science degree in special ed. How did you rank? your class?
I was top 3 in my class.
Top 3 in
I
class.
had a 3.95 Q.
Folks, we're talking to Cynthia Dolon, who experienced bullying when she was a kid, as you hear, almost every year, even in college. Unfortunately, today we have young people who don't have the faith that Cindy has, and don't have the parents who take their children to church. We have the people who do not have the faith in teaching their young children that there is a God, and it's important in their lives. And shame on you parents who do not do that, that you're so, yes.
My mother, one thing I will tell you about my mother, she was strong on the faith. She emphasized God in everything. She couldn't take me to church. She made my aunt take me to church because my mother couldn't walk. But my aunt took me every Sunday. And
How important was that in your life?
Very.
Saved your life.
Absolutely. If I didn't have God in my life, I wouldn't be here right now. I wouldn't be sober. I would not be anything. And every day, my mother with severe arthritis pain would get on her knees and kiss the cross. It was in her bedroom. She had prayer cards and shoe boxes that I still save to this day.
Well, anyway, folks, as I said, I'm not here to lecture anybody, but it's important if you're a grandparent, if you're a mother, if you're a father, if you're a guardian or whatever, get some spirituality in these children. It's important, folks. I don't care if you're Protestant, Catholic, Jewish.
Absolutely.
It is serious stuff. We want to know why these young kids are drinking, doing drugs, and killing themselves. We need a substance, folks. We need a substance. We'll be back right after this. 7SSPTV.com. You can watch us anytime, all of our programs. My email, sam@ssptv.com. We're talking about people who are being bullied and bullying. Here's a person that says, was told, "You'll never amount to a damn thing," the teacher said. "You're a stupid person. I want you to quit school because you're not going to make it." Okay? And so it just goes on and on. When she, in school, in college, okay, girls in her dorm made her the butt of jokes, put LSD in a drink, okay, which she didn't accept, thank the good Lord. So Cindy Dolon, who is my guest today, as you know, she's very active in lupus, etc., now studying to be a doctor. Cindy, I can only say to you, I am shocked to learn about this, and I know you so many years, and it's interesting to me. And I got to thank Dr. Degenhardt, who suggested that I talk to you about,
He's a wonderful man. He's one person that could share with you about my bullying. He's been with me since I was in high school.
Well, and the thing is that, bringing this awareness, okay, the fact that, you should really go to grade schools and high schools and talk to students.
I'd be willing to. If anybody wants to contact me, and I'm here at free of charge. I'm not even going to charge anybody a cent because I just want to get the word out there.
So now that you said, and I know, believe me, I'm a sinner, no question about it.
None of us are perfect.
Yeah.
I could have a laundry list myself.
But the thing is, Cindy, what I see the destruction today in the world, okay? People say why is this happening? What's going on? But yet they fail to look at themselves and saying, well, what am I doing? Am I thanking God every day for what my life is all about?
No attitude of gratitude anymore, absolutely not.
So it's interesting. What do you say to the parents out there, guardians out there, who do not have their children practicing a faith?
First of all, they have to be an example themselves. A lot of parents are prejudicial themselves. They talk about different race groups, they talk about different religious groups, they talk about different people, saying, oh, you don't want to hang out with those kids. And they're perpetuating that mindset. That's the first thing. The second thing they've got to understand is that you have to be gentle with your children. You've got to understand they're going to make mistakes. Yes, you've got to be firm, but you don't want to chastise a child. You don't want to verbally criticize a kid. You want to encourage them and show them that you are a person who's understanding. And also, you've got to be a man of faith. You've got to be praying yourself. You've got to set the example yourself to your children. Don't say, do as I say, not as I do. Be an example for these kids, okay? Get out there and show them about kindness and compassion and forgiveness. And once you teach kids, they follow your example. Children have much more cognition than you think they do about things. And if we use ourselves as an example, we're there for the next generation. And if we stop these video games from being bought, these violent video games that are out there, and stop emailing and faxing people and just meeting people, talking to people face to face. If there's a face in front of a person, you're less likely to be cruel to somebody when there's humanity involved. We're too electronic of a society. I don't think that's helping anything either, Sammy.
When you talk to people who, who are running for office or who are involved with families that are broken up, you'll always, not always, but most of the time you'll find that people who come from broken homes or there's no family unit,
right.
These are the kids that go out and either steal, do drugs or whatever. And it's so important to keep the families together.
Right.
And it seems like Hollywood tries to destroy everything.
I know.
The more, Planned Parenthood ripping little babies apart, sticking a needle through a baby's face to get their brains.
God forgive me.
And President Obama and his wife think Planned Parenthood is, and he says to Planned Parenthood, God bless you. It just blows my mind.
I know, I hear you.
I don't understand it one bit. And then you have Catholic senators, Catholic representatives who are phonies, who support this, and why it just
every life is precious.
It just drives me crazy, Cindy. I mean, how do you feel about that?
Well, I firmly believe that every life is precious, and I feel you cannot, even when I study special ed, I want people to know that kids born with Down syndrome, 15% of them come up with a normal IQ. Not every child who has Down syndrome is mentally retarded, okay? And even, I don't know if you ever heard in physics, it's a thing called Stern's hypothesis. It's a believing that everything has elasticity to it. All of us are like a rubber band. We could be stretched so much. There's so much potential in each person. You just got to stretch it. So even if we call the slowest or dumbest person, still has potential. So what we got to do is bring the best out in everybody and believe in people. And there's so much good in this world. And the problem is that we judge things for what we think is what's acceptable and what's not. There's a purpose for every single person, and you have to reach out and find it. And sometimes when you look for the potential in somebody, like look at James Earl Jones. He was a childhood stutterer. Okay, and if you saw the movie King's Speech, that king was a stutterer, but he became a great leader. And and look at Stevie Wonder, and he was blind as a child. Who would ever look at the potential that that guy had? And also Albert Einstein had Asperger's syndrome and dyslexia. So there you go. You just had to take one person to believe in you, and that's all it takes.
Well, as you grow older in life, sometimes you realize all the mistakes you made and things you said to people you shouldn't have said.
We're all not perfect.
But you think, why did I ever say this? Why did I ever do that? Even in my life, but you have to learn to forgive, and everybody has a purpose.
Absolutely.
We all have a purpose to do what we have
Even
to
people
do.
that gets us disgusted, they're denoise. That's what their purpose is, but they're still here for a reason.
I'm talking to Cynthia Dolon, folks. She was bullied many, many times. But yet she became stronger. She was top in her class. She didn't let them get them down, as they say. She has a faith. If she didn't have the faith, we wouldn't be talking here today. We're going to take a break. We'll be back right after this. Thanks for staying with us, folks. I'm Sam Lesante. You're watching the Sam Lesante Show, talking to Cynthia Dolon, who was bullied during grade school, high school, college, and came out top of her class as a master's degree, survived all of that stuff. And as I said to you, Cynthia, I've known you so many years, and I never knew this, okay, about you. And all I could say is that you're a great person for doing what you're doing and getting the word out. And believe me, I'm not lecturing, and I'm sure you're not lecturing.
No.
It's just a matter of sometimes common sense.
Right.
We forget what we're, who we are.
Right.
And we're only here for this much, Cindy.
That's right. It's
What I fear the most is when I die and I have to stand before God, and God says, "Okay, Sammy, what did you do that was good? Did you help the poor? Were you loving the people?" Okay, and then that's when you have to pay things. So that's what I'm always concerned about. Because you're out to save souls instead of monetary and who has the better car, who has the better house, who has the better, who hates their neighbor because they're doing that. I mean, it's just sad, isn't it, Cindy?
It's actually pathetic. To me, money can be used for good. It's not saying that money's evil. It's what you do with the money that makes it evil. But I always wanted to tell people that it's amazing. People watch these shows on ghosts and aliens, and they believe that ghosts exist and aliens exist, but they have a problem with God. They'll buy into all these ghost shows where these people come into these buildings and they're haunted and all this stuff, and they'll watch these horror films and about devil possessions and all this stuff, but they have no idea about God. Let me tell you what my explanation of God is.
You got 2 minutes.
God is to me like oxygen and air. You can't see it, but you need it to live. And the devil's like carbon monoxide. Colorless, colorless, tasteless, but it's going to kill you. We believe in carbon monoxide, but we can't believe in the devil. We believe in oxygen, but we can't believe in God. That's as simple as that. All you got to do is have that faith, and you can handle anything in life. Yes, you have to show up, and you got to give your 50%. We do have a free will, but you just got to do your best, and that's all God expects from us. The rest is up to Him.
You're going to make one fabulous doctor, you know that?
Thank you.
You know, when
Please pray for me, everybody. That's what I need.
well, and that's the truth. But you know, the funny thing is, Cindy, when you've been on the show a couple times and someone will see me and say, hey, I saw Cindy about the lupus, and, you know, when they had Dr. Newberg on, you know, and they say, if they know you, you know what people say to me?
What?
Boy, she's a brilliant girl, isn't she? You know, isn't she a brilliant girl? And you know what? You are brilliant, and you're loving, and you're caring, and it's so important that you are willing to come on my show and talk about what happened in your life, and the fact that, you know, how your faith is so, and how you survived, and how you're surviving now, and all the good that you're doing. Boy, I really admire you for that.
Well, I really admire what you're doing too, Sammy, because you get the word out to people, and you're not afraid to say the truth, and that's what you're all about too.
Hey, when you get a certain age, you don't care anymore.
Absolutely.
Okay?
I call it the pleasure of dementia.
Cynthia, I've seen so many phonies in my life. I've seen people who try to destroy my family. I've seen people who are jealous and who hate us only because we work hard. And a lot of families have the same thing. And after a while, you know what it says, Cindy? You get to the point where we're saying, well, hey, look, I know we're doing, you know, we come from a good foundation. Thank the good Lord for my parents, and I married a wonderful person, and I have two beautiful kids.
Just think about how their ending's going to be. They're going to be very lonely at the end.
That's the sad.
Pity them, because they're going to end with nobody
they're
around
lonely
them
now,
for support.
Cindy. The only way is they have I call these people who have these special cliques the Mutual Admiration Society.
They're bullies.
Yeah, they all get around. Oh, you did a great job, and that's right. And and they're all a bunch of phonies.
Exactly.
Okay, it's hard to sometimes, you know. I live around great people who are real people, and I'm so blessed for that.
Thank
Cindy,
God.
thanks for coming
You
on
too,
the show.
as usual. God bless you.
Good luck with lupus. Lupus, you're doing a great job.
Thanks,
How did the
Doc.
thing go with Dr.
It
Newman?
went excellent.
Yeah.
In fact, we had a lot of people there. He got a lot of insights, and we hope that everybody comes next year.
Well, I hope the show helped you out with
And
the.
by the way, we're having a support room meeting in 2 weeks, and it's going to be a cardiologist coming. So if you want to come to the Ball Arena, 7 o'clock, we'll join you.
I'm glad that happened, and I said hopefully the show helped Dr. Newberg.
You guys always do great. This is the best publicity in town, guys.
Cindy Dolon, folks, been bullied. You can go to the website or Google and look at bullying and how you could help people and save a lot of lives. We'll see you next time.